Hello, and welcome to a video on ROTA, Realms of the Ancients, a tabletop role-playing game developed by Immortal House. I'm Joseph March, though I go by Joe, and I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Immortal House and your host for this video. Today I'm going to talk about character advancement and game leader challenges. Over the course of a game of ROTA, the game leader will reward the players with what we call advancement points. Advancement points can be spent in various ways, but the most notable way is to gain a capability increase. Each character has a unique set of capability increases listed at the bottom of their character sheet. By spending 3 advancement points, a player can place a check in a box next to one of these capability increases and gain that increase permanently. Once all of the boxes have been checked, the character's tier increases, and they gain a special ability for going up a tier. They also remove the check marks from all of the boxes and can start again. We call this process of advancing a character micro-leveling. The idea behind it is that everything you get from all of these capability increases would normally be what you get in a different game for leveling up once. But instead of having to wait until you have enough experience to level up once, you're able to spend smaller amounts of experience, what we call advancement or advancement points, to level up in small ways until you reach the next level, or tier as we call it. This allows your character to constantly be getting stronger instead of getting stronger all of a sudden in one burst. Of course, there are 2 other things that you can spend advancement points on as well, one of those being finding a piece of standard equipment by spending 2 advancement points, and the other, refusing a game leader challenge for 1 advancement point. I'll explain the game leader challenge portion of this a little bit later. There are 3 different ways to get advancement points in the game. The most obvious is to complete a game session. At the end of the session, the game leader determines if all the characters worked together and finished the mission. If they did, they get 3 points. If they finished the mission but they didn't work well together, they get 2 points, and if they didn't finish the mission or work well together, they still get 1 point just for playing. You can also get advancement points during the game for completing missions within the game, so the instant you actually complete a mission or objective, everybody in the group gets 1 point. And lastly, the place where you're going to get the bulk of your points is from game leader challenges. But what is a game leader challenge? Throughout the game, complications can arise that the characters don't expect. A trick floor might fall out from under a character, additional enemies may appear in the middle of a battle that make it more difficult, the character's weapon may jam, or they may suffer from hallucinations. When unexpected complications like these happen, it's called a game leader challenge. When the game leader decides to challenge a player, the game leader will say to that player, "I am challenging you," but won't specify in what way. The player then has the option to either spend one of their advancement to reject the challenge, or they can accept the challenge. If they do, the game leader will give them 1 advancement, and they can select one other player who will also get 1 advancement. Those 2 players are both part of the challenge. It's important to note that the game leader chooses the first player, but that player chooses the second player. In that way, the game leader can never know which other player is going to be challenged, and the players don't know what the challenge is whenever all of this goes down. Assuming the player accepts the challenge and then chooses another player, giving both of those players an advancement point, the game leader then reveals to them what the challenge is. The challenge always occurs. There is no role to stop it from happening. So if the challenge is, for example, to have the floor fall out from under these 2 players, it does. They fall. Perhaps they fall into a whole different area of the place they were in, and now they're separated from the rest of the group. These 2 will now have to take on different elements of the mission, possibly a harder track than what the other players have to deal with. The players involved in a challenge don't always have to have the exact same thing happen to both of them either. They just both have to be involved in the challenge. Consider this example. One player fires their weapon, but they didn't understand that the area that they're in has a reflective surface. The game leader realizes in this moment that it's possible that the beam weapon they're firing could bounce and hit another player. So the game leader challenges the player who fired their weapon. Not knowing why they're being challenged, the player accepts the challenge and selects another player to be in the challenge with them. The game leader then informs that the initial player fired their weapon and it bounced off the reflective surface and hit the other player that was selected by them. In this example, the game leader challenge was as a result of a consequence, but that doesn't always have to be the case. Perhaps an enemy ambushes the party. The whole party is going to have to fight that creature, but instead of just having the creature come out and start attacking the party, the game leader issues a challenge. The player who accepts the challenge and the other player they bring in are the first 2 people attacked by the ambush. Anything after the initial challenge can be handled by the whole party. It isn't required that the 2 challenged people are the only ones that respond to the challenge, but they'll be the only ones initially affected by it. As a game leader, there's 2 rules you're going to need to follow when giving out game leader challenges. The first rule is to do your best to distribute them evenly. If you've given a player a challenge, don't give them another challenge until you've given each of the other players a challenge this session. It's not important to worry about which players have been pulled into other players' challenges. If point distribution gets uneven, that's okay. It's important to be impartial as a game leader and offer up challenges evenly. The second rule, and most important, is that if someone refuses a game leader challenge and spends an advancement point, you cannot then give that challenge to someone else. A rejected challenge is a challenge that was beaten. For example, if you were going to have an enemy ambush the party and you offer up a challenge, but the player rejects the challenge by giving you an advancement point, they spot the enemy that was going to ambush them before the ambush occurs. If the floor was going to drop out from underneath of them and they reject the challenge and give you an advancement point, they spot and stop the trap from going off and the floor does not open. Rejecting a challenge doesn't mean nothing happens. It rather means that they subvert the challenge. This is crucially important in order to make it feel like there's value in rejecting these challenges. Lastly, there's always a question on how often should game leader challenges be used. That's absolutely up to the game leader. The more often you challenge the players, the more chaotic the game will feel. But the more quickly the players will get stronger. This makes game leader challenges a double-edged sword for both the game leader and the players. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to rate and share this video if desired. Feel free to leave a comment or question, and if you like this video and want to see more, press the subscribe button. If you are interested in purchasing Realms of the Ancients or other related materials, links are in the description below. If you'd like to see more right away, check out our channel page or click on the suggestion currently on your screen. Thanks again, and remember, the adventure requires people like you. After all, the cosmos isn't going to conquer itself.